Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. We're going to jump right in and talk about family travel. There's a lot to unpack about this topic. So I've got Sarah and Erica today, and we'll just start with the first question. And the first question I've got is I'll start with Sarah. What was the last place you stayed overnight with your family, and where it was, and the ages of those with you?
Awesome. Thanks for having me today. The last place we vacationed, we live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we went on a last minute beach vacation. It was a random November afternoon. It was warm, and we're like, let's go to the beach. So we drove out to the beach and got an Airbnb, and my girls are 4 and 6.
Nice. That sounds wonderful. Erica.
Excuse me. Hi, thank you for having me as well. Our last overnight was actually a full month in a cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And at the time, our kids were 11, 12, and 13.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. That's great.
It's adventurous.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
know.
It
Those
was
are
very
great
fun.
destinations. So I'm going to jump over to what are some of the biggest concerns you have when traveling with your family? And go back to Sarah.
I think for us, and this has been true since our kids were really little, is keeping them on some sort of schedule, but still doing everything we want to do at the destination. Because we learned the hard way that when you try to push or you're like, oh, it's only one day, how much your vacation can really be impacted. So I think for us, our biggest concern is not trying to overschedule, but still be able to do all the things we want and in the destination.
Hmm. Great. Erica?
I love that. Yeah, so my kids are teens now, 13, 14, and 15. So well, even when they were younger, I felt this way too. But the biggest thing for me is making sure it's a meaningful experience for them. Um, Without, they say, "Oh, mom, you ruined everything," because I get too nerdy about the history of a place or something like that. So the key thing for me is giving them experiential, learning and exploration that, gets them out of their heads on some level, right? But also they come away better human beings and also just more knowledgeable about something that they actually receive the story of a place rather than just, okay, we're going to go and use up this space and have a good time and be selfish. And so we often try to also include opportunities for service. So,
Hmm.
for example, like our Rhythms of Nature teen retreat that we do at Sequoia National Park every July, we actually partner with what are they called? AmeriCorps with the park with the national park. We actually do a half day of service, and often that means pulling weeds out of the alpine meadows, invasive species, or maybe repairing bear boxes. And we do it in a way that actually combines. It has mom or parent and child working together on a project so that they are shoulder to shoulder working on something together. Those kinds of things, like there's the family bonding that needs to happen, there's the education that needs to happen, and the selflessness, all of those things. It's pretty high standards, I realize, and we always fall short, but at least those are kind of the big things we're trying to get to.
That's a great idea. Plus, you have that time then to just have a conversation. I mean, we all know, like, if you're pulling
Yes.
weeds and you're just beside each other, just naturally, it's an opportunity to converse
That's right. That's
or
right.
be
And it goes
quiet
beyond,
or,
it goes
yeah.
beyond a lecture. Like they can hear about, why these invasive species are actually really dangerous to this environment, but actually pulling the weeds and painstakingly taking care of it, that leaves a mark on their hearts quite a bit more, right? And it almost kind of develops more affection for the environment than a simple lecture would.
That's
That's
excellent.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to go into like keeping kids entertained. And with smaller kids, I know this is probably more of a challenge, Sarah. So, how do you keep your kids entertained during long flights or long car rides, or what are some tips?
Well, especially on long car rides, because since the pandemic, we ventured a couple times on planes, but we've mostly done long road trips. So we live in North Carolina. My parents are in upstate New York. So about 11 hours on a very good day getting through all the cities. And so one thing we started that I completely stole from a friend who homeschools and travels a lot, they do state gifts. So every time you cross a state line, you get some sort of new activity, which I love and the girls love. We also have put in family store, so you earn tokens for literally everything. You try to go to the bathroom, you get a token. You step yourself in, you get a token. And then there's opportunities to buy things along the way when the family store opens. So we turn a lot into a game. I was an educator for 12 years, so I think as you're learning things and turning it into a game, that's what kids latch onto. And then of course, now that they're 4 and 6, we definitely lean on the Amazon Fire and do games. And there's definitely movies to be had when we reach certain points of the trip and things like that. And no guilt on that one.
Yeah, those are great. Erica.
Those are fantastic ideas. We never did the family store, which that is such a great idea, but we definitely did as we crossed a state line, there was a new set of activities that related to the state that we were in. Yeah, yeah, I love it. Again, me being the nerd and making them learn while they play.
Exactly.
So now that they're
Um,
older, though, Erica, is everyone kind of just do self-entertainment or?
Somewhat. I mean, yeah, that is a challenge because obviously the reason we're traveling together is for family bonding.
Yeah.
So we try to create like playlists that everybody gets to speak into ahead of time. And we'll all like, because oh my gosh, if we let them take turns choosing the song on the road trip, the bickering is just ridiculous. So we kind of create a road trip playlist ahead of time. We choose a book that we might listen to together. Um, and when it's the book, we really take it in like 10 to 20 minutes max
Hmm.
on the road trip. And then also, honestly, I found that even when they were young and now as teens, we tell them to embrace boredom
Oh.
because this is the place where first your mind gets to breathe a little bit, but also it's the place where creativity dwells. And what we found is that if we combine that with the super great power of nature, when they're outside, I remember learning this. We were foster parents when we were younger, and we learned from some really great social workers that when your kids are feeling angsty, take them outside and watch the transformation that happens when they go outside. And you see this especially in really young toddlers, but it was such a moving lesson for me that I still use it even for myself and for my teenagers. When you step outside, from when they're inside, they're always thinking, entertain me, entertain me, entertain me. When they step outside, there's something magical that happens where they become in control of their environment and they become like intrepid explorers. There's something that happens in the brain that's super powerful. So that's a key reason why we are always attacking nature. Like we want to be in nature as much as possible. Attacking is not a good word for that. But we're going to play in nature everywhere we go. And I love it too because it brings you into the sensory as well. And when you're traveling, the senses actually come alive in a really amazing way. There's actually studies on this that what happens to the brain. And it lasts for 24 to 48 hours. And if you're on a road trip and you're seeing different things, that can actually increase or it can go for longer. But when that happens, we double down and get them into nature because nature also opens the senses. And when that happens, it's kind of a bottom up approach to wellness. It's grounding and it's calming. And from there, it comes up and does its work into the brain and everything else. So again, see, I just made it nerdy,
No, no, that was
but the
actually
point is
really, yeah,
fun.
yeah, no, and it's really
It's
important to
intentional
think
fun.
about that too, like you said, or maybe stopping more frequently just to get out of that bubble
Yes.
of the car or something.
Yes, absolutely. On road trips, we always, if we try to stick to under 6 hours a day because sitting for that long isn't healthy anyway, but we always try to find something that's halfway, as goofy as it might be, or we'll pull over for the stupidest things. Like we were driving through Nebraska and there's just I mean, it's flat prairie for miles and miles and miles, right? Well, we see one little road sign that says Corn Palace, the world's largest palace. And I'm like, Mike, you gotta pull over. Come on, it's an hour off the freeway. Let's go do this. And it was the
We've been
hokiest,
there.
silliest.
I know.
It's the hokiest, silliest place, but it's kind of amazing because they redo the outside of it every year, right there. So they
Yep.
I
change it
think
up, and
so,
it's made
yeah.
with corn husks and corn cobs, and it's this really beautiful piece of artwork in the middle of the American prairie. So we had a good laugh, but we also got to see a little piece of, Nebraska culture. It was fun.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I love that, Erica.
We
Well, I think
stop a ton too. We do playgrounds or like indoor play spaces
Yes.
that are just new and like get everyone moving because it makes such a difference on those long trips.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
When my kids were
especially.
younger, they visited I don't know how many playgrounds. I totally agree with you, Sarah.
Mhm.
In France, in England, I mean, yeah, the locals began to know who we were.
Oh, those are all good tips. I think a lot of concerns this year are going to revolve around money. I think a lot of times people put money becomes a barrier to travel, and I know we often talk on these different videos of breaking that down. So what are some ways you can save money while traveling with your family? I'll go back to you, Sarah.
I think for us, just because of the age of the kids, it's not only financially responsible, but for us, it just makes more sense. Is we always try to stay places with a kitchen so we can at least have breakfast in the room, or best case scenario like a condo, or so we can make a lot of our meals, which of course I think a lot of moms hear that and they're like, well, that's not vacation. But for us it works, and it just takes out that one less stressor of what will the kids eat when we go out, how will they be when we go out after a long day of sightseeing, or do they want to go and sit at dinner? Probably not. Like they want to play at the hotel pool or be running around the
Yeah.
hotel room, not be sitting at dinner. So we try to get places that have at least a minimal like refrigerator so we can keep some stuff and do it that way.
No, that's smart. That's great. Erica, with teens, I'm sure can be a challenge, the money issue.
Yeah. Well, again, that's where we kind of combat it with nature because there isn't this void of entertainment for them. If we go on hikes, there's always like, before we actually go on a hike, there's complaints and, oh, I don't want to do this. But almost always they come out of themselves and just enjoy it while we're on it. Um, but I do echo Sarah's idea of actually having a kitchen. We do that as well. And a girlfriend of mine had actually given us a great idea when it comes to, yeah, you don't want to be working, you don't want to be cooking and making meals and planning meals. And so, at least for domestic travel, she always would first stop when she would go somewhere was Costco and just go and get those prepped things that are at the back that you normally don't spend money on because however expensive that is nothing compared to going out, right? And then we've also found that almost worldwide, breakfast is always cheaper. So we choose to either find places where breakfast is included because the kids don't know the difference, especially little kids. They don't know the difference between, all an included thing and going out for dinner. The delight of going to this breakfast buffet in a cheap roadside motel is pretty, powerful. But then also, especially in Europe, the price of a coffee and a croissant is so cheap compared to here in the US. You're not looking at $15 a person. You're looking at $15 for a family of four or five. So we tap into that quite a bit and then leave. We do picnic lunches and dinner is at home. Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Oh, and then
excellent.
also
Yeah.
we go off the beaten path. That's a really
Mm.
good one. Off the beaten path or shoulder season or off season.
That's smart. Yeah, that's a good idea. And a lot of people are probably doing spring break travels now just for that reason, maybe save a little versus summertime.
Mhm.
What are some of your favorite family destinations, Sarah?
Oh, our favorite that we started actually when we moved to North Carolina, we sold our place in Maryland, and our lease for our apartment didn't start until like 1 week later down here. So we had like a week of driving around with our all of our belongings in a moving truck and we were like, where do we go? And one of our friends suggested Williamsburg, Virginia.
Yeah.
and we went to Kings Mill Resort, and we've done it every year since. And it's so family friendly and so easy for our age kids and even for older kids because we get a condo, we have a kitchen. Is my first stop is either we stop at the grocery store or now a little gluttony is I get Instacart delivered to there when we arrive, and then we're set for the week. And there's restaurant options on property and cafes on property, so you don't have to cook, but it's a super easy place. Just so once you get there, there's no driving, there's a beautiful pool, they sit right on the river, and there's a ton of activities for families, and that's been our kind of go-to place at this stage.
Oh yeah, that sounds fabulous. Erica.
It's really hard to pick. The question is where do you like to
Yeah,
go
just some
most often?
family friendly destinations and why you love them.
Oh, that's hard to pick. I mean, almost anything is a family-friendly destination if you do it right.
Hmm.
Um, for us, my kids still talk about Italy. They loved, loved, loved Italy. And we did, a spontaneous road trip with them down into Cinque Terre. We were living in France for a couple of months. Um, and uh, just the seaside, I think they really enjoy always anything with water, honestly. I mean, and
Yeah.
that doesn't change. It's so powerful when they're little, especially when you can get them swimming at the end of the day so that they'll actually knock out at night. Um, but yeah, water is always a powerful thing. Um, but I think also one of the keys for Italy and France really was that they didn't speak a lick of English anywhere around us because we tried to stay off the beaten path as much as possible. And there's a family bonding that happens in that because we're all in this together trying to figure out how to navigate, and so many hands-on cultural experiences there where, okay, well, you need to try to speak French or Italian. And yes, you're going to sound silly, but it goes a long way in helping people feel like, hey, you actually care about trying to communicate with me, even though you're bumbling.
Yeah.
So there's little things like that. And then also I remember encountering children bathing in the seaside naked up to about maybe 8 years old. And I love experiences like that. That sounds really creepy.
No.
But no, the reason I do is because I love that my kids were shocked. Oh my gosh, mom, that little girl is naked. That little boy is naked. And I said, well, yeah, welcome to Europe. And we talked about what that means. Like, why is that okay here and not in the US? What do you think about that? And we talked through it, we talked through things like that. So I think there's a richness that happens when you go overseas with kids that is just keeps their mind firing.
Yeah.
I think that's key to why that's such a special place to them, Italy. They want to go back.
No, that's fabulous. Yeah. And if you look for deals or opportunities, you can probably find some things that
Oh
are.
yeah, just don't ever go in August. That's when everybody in Europe, yeah, is taking their vacation. So yeah, July and August are definitely high season. We were able to be there in May and June, so
Hmm.
that was nice. It's kind of a
Yeah,
shoulder season.
that's a great tip. So, do you have any ideas? I'm trying to read this quick. Tips for things that you always travel with, Sarah?
Well, being my kids are 4 and 6, we always travel with our little sleep nest that they have. That's like their noise machine and their light that tells them it's time to go to bed or it's time to wake up. And of course, like the loveys that they sleep with, anything to kind of keep it consistent when they're not at
Mm.
home. And then just at the top of my list every time are wipes, plastic bags, and extra clothes for everyone because you never know what's going to happen.
Oh, those are great tips, though, because it kind of, even for us, if we have something that we're used to sleeping with, it kind of
Mhm.
provides that similarity. Erica,
I think key to the better question for us is what do we not bring?
there you go.
Yeah, we specifically I'm kind of Nazi when it comes to pack simply. You each have a backpack. Choose what you want to put in that backpack. Dad and I are gonna analyze it before we leave, and if there's anything that we're like, really, you don't want to be carrying this. You're not really going to use it, that kind of thing. And then we are very minimal in terms of how many clothes we bring, which when they were little, oh my gosh, yeah, Sarah, you just can't do that. You have to have extras. But as they get older, we just go, listen, here's how you do your laundry while you're traveling. And, you don't want to have heavy bags. We're not going to deal with that. Let's just go and enjoy. And one of the key things is there's a life experience in there that, at home, how many times do my kids tell me I'm bored and they want to be entertained? Okay, well, here's a life skill that we're going to teach in your brain. We're going to create pathways in your brain that show you here's how you engage and find fun when you're out and about. And it's a lot easier when you're out and about and traveling because that's what it's meant for. It's for fun. And then they have these fun memories attached to the new brain waves or brain connections that are happening. So again, I just nerded it out. My goodness, that's
no, but
where we go with it.
With teens though, it is important. I mean, it's hard enough for ourselves as adults to like narrow down sometimes. It's like we want to, oh, I need that. I might want to wear that. And it's getting back to that minimalism that, you know what?
Yes, and that's the key thing. We do it too. My husband and I do too. And I'm not gonna lie, it hurts. Yeah. It does hurt at first.
Yeah, it does. It's hard.
We all need it. We all need that disconnect from that stuff.
Well, my friends think I'm crazy because my kids pack for themselves. I say, go get 4 pairs of underwear. And I tell them how many things to bring, but they get to choose okay, you need 3 pairs of pajamas. And none of it ever matches. It never looks like it's very put together, but it gives them that choice. And I think it's important to teach them how to pack. I want them to have a love for travel, and I want them to have some kind of responsibility for when we go away as a family. And they love it. They love packing their little suitcases, and they know that their room is limited. They can't bring all their stuffed animals with us.
Oh, I actually love that, Sarah, too, because it also lets them have some say in what they're bringing. They're not just dictated to. They're actually involved in the process.
And then there's never a vacation that we go on that they're like, I didn't want to wear this. Why did you bring this? I'm like, you packed your stuff.
Yeah.
So it takes out that too.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. How do you handle picky eaters, or does anyone have like dietary issues when you travel with your family? Sarah?
So I have picky eaters. So everywhere we go, we get bread and peanut butter because we know they'll have a peanut butter sandwich when all else fails. But just to have some like fruit and vegetables, pre-cut up stuff with us all the time. So if we go out somewhere where they're not going to eat anything, or if it's different, God forbid, different than I make it or that they've had it before, that they have healthy options to eat, and it kind of alleviates that tantrum. And I'm gluten-free, so I have to kind of plan ahead as far as where we're going if there's going to be those options, because not everywhere you go is super gluten-free friendly. So I too have to pack what my husband lovingly calls a feed bag, just in case I can't find something that I'm able to eat.
Yeah, that's true. Erica?
Yeah, Sarah, I'm the most high maintenance in our family too because of dietary restrictions. I've got a long laundry list of things that I'm sensitive to, and during travel, that's so hard. So yes, I have my own feed bag too. I love it. Usually about half of my suitcase, especially if I'm going overseas, because it's so much harder.
Absolutely.
Right? Oh gosh. Yeah. So, but no, I echo what Sarah said. We when you're on the road, it's just so hard to eat healthy. And so, yeah, if I can just have some nibbles in the car, Ziplocked servings, and maybe I need to do it in the hotel the night before, that's okay. And they have a certain number of, here's berries, here's veggies and dip, and yes, here's some pretzels, here's raisins, whatever. And then and we just give it to them at the beginning of the day. And when you're done with this, you're done with this, and we're not going to hear any whining. So you got to figure out how to make this last throughout the day.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's great. All right, well, we're getting down to the end. So finally, what's your last piece of advice you would give to someone who's planning their first family trip, Sarah?
Oh, this might be my favorite question. I think the best advice that I've ever gotten from someone is they kind of said, you go into a family vacation with like planned spontaneity, that have a plan, but be ready for all of it to go awry and be okay with it. And just remember, if everything goes wrong, it's still going to make for a great story and really awesome memories. This is why we all travel anyways.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful. Erica?
Yeah, that's exactly what my response is too. Embrace a spirit of adventure and recognize that in that adventure, all the hiccups that happen are part of it. And keep a sense of humor with you. Um, don't overstress. Just know that, I mean, gosh, if this is your first family vacation, guess what? You're probably going to get a lot wrong. You right? And I put
And
that
you're
in
gonna
quotes
pack way
because
too much, way
Yeah.
too much.
yes, yes, right. Oh my gosh,
Always.
always. Yes. Well, and especially when, gosh, when the kids are babies, I remember those early years. I mean, the amount of equipment we had to take with us was just overwhelming. And, be prepared for that. One other thing that I would say is don't try to plan more than one big thing every day, especially when they were younger. But that's carried into my kids' teenage years as well. And then I would say also, if you're going out to eat, plan to get to the restaurant an hour before you normally eat,
Mm.
because the kids will. The last thing you want is kids starving and waiting at the table and misbehaving.
And order kids' foods immediately as soon as you sit
Yes.
down.
Yes. Amen to that.
Wow, some really great tips, both of you. So now let's wrap it up by Sarah. Why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers where to find you, if you've got any contact information you'd like to share? So if anyone has further questions or wants to connect with you.
Absolutely. I'd love to connect. My website is greatdaysbysarah.com, and I'm a wellness coach, and we specifically work with moms to empower them to make themselves a priority for just 2% of the day through fitness, mindfulness, and just all around self-care. It's on social media. It's also at Great Days by Sarah.
Oh, beautiful. Erica.
Oh, I love your mission, Sarah. That's fantastic. I'm Erica Pollock, and I own and operate Return Refreshed, which is a boutique wellness travel tour provider. And we actually run a teen program every July in Sequoia National Park, a 1 week teen and family wellness retreat called Rhythms of Nature. We'd love to have y'all join us for that. You can find out more information on returnrefreshed.org. And at the end of refresh is an ED. So returnrefreshed.org. And we're also Return Refreshed on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest. Oh,
Beautiful.
and YouTube.
Okay. Great. Thank you both, Erica and Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so
Thank
fun.
you.